groovy people! Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. This is the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon, and I'm doing a video inking this week. This page is from my free Not Safe for Work webcomic, Dark Horse. It is the closing page for Time Warp, which is the most up-to-date act in the Dark Horse story. I am now on break from that, posting on Comic Fury. I'm kind of at a juncture where I'm on break both with the revamp, which is the, fixing pages, fixing story holes, plot holes, mostly updating the artwork and making sure everything kind of makes sense for where I'm going, since I started this project long before I even started posting it to the internet. Back in college, I started actually working on it. I used it as part of my final project for my art degree. But I finished Opposition, which was Act 8 of Dark Horse, the redraw of it. And I'm at this point where I'm on break from both the revamp and progressing the story forward. So just kind of rambling a little bit to myself as well as to y'all. I'm trying to decide, because I'm going to be traveling home much more often in 2022, not because I don't realize, I know that COVID is a legit issue and problem. However, I can't continue postponing helping my family take care of my father, who is not in good health at all. So it's one of those things where you have to weigh the pros and cons. Of course, I'm careful. I've got my booster scheduled. I always wear my mask. I don't even, when I'm eating on the plane, you're supposed to put the food under your mask when you eat or drink. You quickly do it and then you quickly replace it. I don't ever take my mask off when I'm on the goddamn plane. I hate planes, y'all. I've flown in them. The past year, I have flown in the plane more than I have ever flown in one in my entire 37 years of existing. So, yeah, that's been something. But I kind of ramble, I digress. As a result, I need to prioritize my family. But anyway, the result is my schedule is going to be kind of all over the place, so I'm trying to take this time now in December to thumbnail, to make my plans, to try to figure out how I want to do this. And I've already given a heads up to my Comic Fury readers that I'm going to have some extras, like I'm posting my contribution to the Not Safe for Work Comic Fury zine that was published in the summer of 2021. I'm going to be sharing that for the first time just on my Comic Fury site. That's 5 pages, so that gives me at least a month of free time to figure out if I'm going to be working on the next act, maybe plan for the next act. But I definitely have to start working on the revamp, because I've already made the commitment to getting it done as fast as possible so that I'm not splitting my time and my energy and effort between 2 different acts. I can focus on one act at a time and put my best foot forward so that I'm less likely to have to edit and redo pages. Because even when I look back at Opposition, which I just completed that revamp, there's pages that I love that I could tell I hadn't started working on Time Warp yet. And I'm like, oh yeah, these pages are awesome. And then you can see a definite difference in how much detail with the inking and the composition, which I need to look more into, improving my composition. But you can see a definite difference between when my full effort is going into the act versus when it's split between the two, trying to keep up with it. So I'm at a juncture where I think I'm going to stretch this intermission on Comic Fury as far as I can, and at least try to get all of the revamp Act 9 Battle Royale, or Battle Royal, I should say. Battle Royal is what it's going to be. Get that under my belt before I start working on progressing any further pages. Because my goal, as I've said in some of the other videos, is to try to just completely be done with the revamp so that I can be working on one thing at a time, which is progressing the story forward, and then doing the page edits when it's time to do page edits for the printed version of the comic. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. In the background, I've been inking that last page of Time Warp. The character here, I have given all these characters names. I'm not sure to what degree we're going to see them in the story. They may come back. They'll probably definitely come back when I get to Seishin, which is the next series in the Crystal Lotus Chronicles. Dark Horse is the first volume of that, or I should say the first series within that chronicle. But right now, I've got Gabby, Gabrielle. She's named after a friend and co-worker. I would say we were more work friends than, I mean, we haven't really kept in touch over the years, but she was someone that I was fairly close to, at least as far as co-workers go at the park service. Very lovely person, just full of energy, full of positivity, a joy to be around. One of those people that when you're in her presence, you know, you feel good. You feel good because she is just such a bright human being. And so I wanted to at least have a character named after her. This specific character is only named after her. She is Latina, as Gabrielle was, or it was, is. However, because I don't like to probe into people's backgrounds, I think, unless they want to offer it up or we're close enough, you know, I feel it's rude to ask, you know, what's your background when you're not close-knit. But I feel like she'd mentioned that the actual person that this character is named after, I think her family came from Puerto Rico. I'm not sure. I think that's what she'd said. But for sure, I'm having this specific character come from Mexico instead, because, you know, in Oregon, we do have a lot of Mexican communities here. So I think it may, and also this specific setting, this specific scene is taking place in Northern California, and I'm almost certain there's a lot of Latinos and Latinas from Mexico there. So I'm changing things around for geography, but I still wanted to pay homage. While the cultures, you know, Puerto Rico is vastly different from Mexico, obviously, Mexico, whatever. I'm going to say Mexico. I probably should say Mexico. Sorry, anyone who speaks Spanish listening to me butcher shit. That's how we localize things. I probably should say Mexico, but I don't want to look like a Peggy Hill. Sound like a fucking Peggy Hill. You know? I don't know. What do y'all want me to do? But I'm digressing. But yeah, I still wanted to pay homage, but I'm just kind of musing and babbling right now. That's the background with the character who's holding the gun. Chris, that character, I do not know this person very closely, but the person that they are named after was my first encounter in my actual job with someone who identified as non-binary, and they went by the name Chris, and I'm really glad that they told me. I had to do an article for the Union magazine. I didn't have to, but I volunteered to write an article, an interview with one of the Union members, and I reached out to them, and they were nice enough to let me know, because I'm not psychic. I probably would have accidentally misgendered them if they hadn't politely said, you know, when you mention me in the article, I do go by they, them. So I appreciated that, because the last thing I want to do is piss somebody off and be an asshole because of my preconception of what someone identifies as. So yeah, I did not know that person intimately. I only knew them on a co-worker level as somebody in another department, but shared some camaraderie because of our unionizing efforts. So I decided, because I don't know that person very well, this specific character is just kind of a little homage to them for being, you know, the first contact I've had with someone who was non-binary. The other character, the third character who's not viewed on this specific page, but that I just introduced and may or may not, well, he'll probably have more scenes later on, if not in this series, then in Seishin. But Peter is the other character, and this specific character, again, is only named after someone that I'm friends with. The character in this comic is going to be African American, born here in the States. I haven't figured out what I want his background to be yet, because I've just introduced him, but the actual person that character is named after comes from a completely different background. He's a friend who is from Zimbabwe. I'm pretty sure he's from Zimbabwe. So I'm changing this specific character because I want to have more representation of, you know, people here from the US in my story, but I also want to kind of pay homage to the people who I'm either friends with or I'm on good terms with. And I've actually been friends with Peter and his wife, because he's another one of those people who's just like a joy. Him and his wife both, I should say. His wife is amazing too, but they're just a joy to be around. They play off each other so well, and when I worked with him, he was like one of the fucking funniest people I've ever met. Oh my god. We were always almost getting in trouble for laughing too much because he was so fucking funny. And like me, he likes to talk. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, so I'm trying to like find ways of putting in naming characters after people that I know and like and I'm friends with, as well as people who are like acquaintances that I'm on good terms with. They'll never read this comic, so they'll never know, and their personalities don't necessarily reflect the human beings that I know. I'm just trying to get names and diversity by putting in people that I know in the comic. Okay, so there's like a postal service song, Natural Anthem, that I think embodies what I do very well. I'll write you a song, and I hope you won't mind, because all the names and places I've taken from real life. So please don't be upset at this portrait that I paint. It may be a little biased, but at least I spelled your name right. I'm so sorry, but that song, and that line right there, I feel like that's something that a lot of writers and authors can maybe relate to.
The characters are all fictional.
Anyway, it's the best way for me to try to write and connect with a character, aside from the characters that I've created out of my own imagination. I mean, you can feel like you know your characters, even though they've never existed. They're people unto themselves. But I think sometimes it helps me along when I base it on, or at least the name, and like vaguely influenced by the background. Usually I'll change the background up a lot, just because I don't want to like, I want to have my own characters that I do my research for, but it's kind of like, it's just, you know, saying, hey, I wrote a character and here's your name. It's nothing like you, they're nothing like you, but hey, you know, you gave me some influence and inspiration, so I hope, yeah, I appreciate you. That's kind of my way of saying I appreciate you, is by naming a character after you. Oh my god, I hope my partner doesn't watch this video, because then he's going to be waiting for a character named after him. I'm going to get to it. I am going to eventually put a character named after my partner in here. I mean, he's going to be in there eventually. I gotta do him justice. Oh, anyway, okay, well, this is a really weird video. Thanks for listening. Love y'all. Peace and love. Fare you well. And keep on trucking.